Hey, Tommy.
Hey, Kevin, how are you?
All right. Oh, look at that bluestone sill. That's awesome right there.
Yeah, that's a nice cap that's going to go over the granite down here that's going to be on the foundation.
Very nice.
And we cap that off with a piece of nice heavy gauge aluminum. And you notice that it's painted on both sides, which is always nice because you won't get any reaction from the stone. But also, I like the weight of it. And you notice we have our counterflashing tape over it.
Yeah.
So if any condensation or moisture should form behind the wall, it will run down on these little pads right here, allowing the air to get in there and circulate. The water will run down, or the moisture will run down and out onto the sill.
Beautiful. And what are we using?
We're actually going to use this right here. Same material we used on the trim. It's that poly-ash material.
Yeah.
The biggest problem with this is you want to make sure, like a lot of the problems today with the manufactured material, you want to make sure you use a HEPA back.
Right. Really dusty stuff.
It's very dusty, but it paints really well and it holds up to the weather great.
Okay. So you got a little rabbit on one side and one on the other?
Right, and the two rabbits are set because this would normally go horizontally, and it's called nickel gap siding. But the architect calls for it to go vertically, and you'll still see that little nickel gap space between each joint.
Gotcha. All right. Looks like you're well into it. I'll give you a hand.
All right, so we already have this piece cut that's going to start at the window right here. We've mitered the outside corner. You can see it right here, how it's mitered. And this notch right there, this notch over, goes in up top for the piece that goes above the window. And we have a 6-degree cut to follow the pitch of the roof. All right, so now what we need to do is we want to make sure that it sits flat. And I also want to have a slight gap against the window. Again, all for letting the air move. So I'm going to use a square. It works out perfect. I'm going to put my first screw in, but notice where I put the screw, Kevin. I'm going to be about 1 3/4 to 2 inches in from the edge. I'm going to line it up with the batten strip, and I'm going to drive it home. All right, so now we're going to measure from the long of that 6-degree angle. So you put your tape up there at the long point. I'll measure down to the bottom here, and that'll be 109 and a strong 3/4. So I have 109 right there, 3/4, and I want that angle to go that way. Now, we have our short and we have our long, but that also gives us the short for the next piece. So before I even bring it over, I can measure on the other side, and that's 110 1/4 for the next piece.
Are they all cut at 6 degrees?
You got it. Now we'll just cut a bunch of those and put them up. All right, so let me show you what I did. So we measured the piece that's on the wall, and we measured to the long of the piece that's on the wall, which gives us the short of this piece. When I measure the long of this piece, it gives me the short of this one, and so on down the line. So then when I put them up, I have the lengths and the angles for all of my pieces. Now the nice thing about this wall is we don't have to be exactly right. It is nice to be, but there's going to be a soffit that's going to go on the overhang, and it's going to hide all those joints. All right, you ready to install?
Yeah.
All right, I'll get up here.
Take that. I'll head up.
Okay. So now you can see why we didn't screw this side of the board. We now have a gap that I can slide this in behind just like that. And I can pull this down where I want it to be. Just up here, right there. I have my air gap. Now I put a screw in it. Because that piece is on, I can do this side. That pulls it in nice and tight. To fill these holes, we're going to use these bungs right here. And they actually match the color of the product, but it doesn't really matter because it's all going to get painted and the holes will disappear. All right, that looks pretty good.
Okay.
All right, so now we have to make a return around this corner. Once I establish the back side of the miter with the face of this piece here, I can then take the next piece and put it on. We now have a finished corner, just like we did around the window.
I like the system. I mean, the material's okay. I like the fact that the screws set themselves, the bungs cover it all up, and the vertical is great.
It does a great job. And like I said earlier, once this is painted, you won't even see a fastener.
Thanks for watching. This Old House has got a video for just about every home improvement project, so be sure to check out the others. And if you like what you see, click on the subscribe button to make sure that you get our newest videos right in your feed.